Hello and welcome to Bike Simsbury, the show where you can learn more about bicycling in Simsbury. My name is Koscher and I'm pleased to be joined here by Officer Tracy Dunne of the Simsbury Police Department and Patti Jacobus of Simsbury Free Bike. We're here today to share facts, tips, and any safety information so that Simsbury can become a better informed bicycle-friendly community. So, Miss Patti Jacobus, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Simsbury Free Bike for those who are unfamiliar with it.
Thanks, Brendan. I am Patti Jacobus. I am a Simsbury resident and avid biker and one of the founders of Simsbury Free Bike. We started last year in July. We had one bike location at Andy's Supermarket in Simsbury, and when we launched again this year, we're up to 7 locations in 3 communities, and starting in August, we'll have 8 locations in 4 communities.
Excellent. That's great to hear. And Officer Dunne, same to you. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role with bicycling in the police department.
My name is Officer Tracy Dunne. I've been a police officer with Simsbury for 8 years. I've been a police officer for 11 years, and I've been involved with biking since my start of a police officer career. In Simsbury, we have had a bike patrol unit for over 10 years, and that involves patrolling the Greenway, patrolling neighborhoods, businesses, and also we have an Explorer program where we've introduced bicycles for our explorers so that we can get them to come with us to work events and like the concerts and other events, the car shows, the fly-ins. So Simsbury Police Department has been involved with bicycling for several years, and we also offer education programs and other helmet fitting, bike rodeos.
So back to Patti, with your Simsbury Free Bike, tell us, how people can go about renting the bikes and exactly who can borrow the bikes.
Well, you have to be over 18. You can go to any of the 7, soon to be 8 locations. You sign a waiver, pay $10, which is actually a refundable deposit. You go out and pick a bike, and you get a bike, a helmet, and a lock, and you can keep it up for up to 24 hours. And when you're through with the bike, you can bring it back and get your $10 back.
That's great. It's a great system. And how do you get the word out about Simsbury Free Bike?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of our sponsors. The first year we had a lot of grants, sponsors, and donations from folks that rode the bikes. So we spend a lot of time, repairing tires, getting our fleet upgraded, so that takes dollars. So we appreciate and send a thanks out to everyone who's helped us get the bikes road ready. We also have a free bike page on Facebook. So anyone who's interested in more information about free bike can just search Simsbury Free Bike, and you'll hear about Connecticut biking events, what's happening in Simsbury. It's great bike news.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of computers, if anyone is looking for great trails and routes to ride on their free bikes, feel free to check out the new Bike Simsbury webpage, and that's located on the town website, which is www.simsbury-ct.gov. And that website has great recommended routes from small 5-mile loops to 50-mile rides and everything in between. So Officer Dunne, why don't you talk more about some of those educational programs you've talked about and what exactly officers on bikes do on the trails?
The important thing with the Community Service Division is that we promote education and bike safety in the schools. The SRO program has conducted classes for bike safety in the elementary schools for years, and we also, upon request, do these types of bike safety presentations for the Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops in the town, which includes bike inspections, also properly fitting their helmets, and offering them stickers for their bicycles. Another great program that Community Service does is that at our bike rodeos in town, the children can register their bikes with the police department. We place a sticker on the bottom of the bike, and in that situation, if a bike is found, say one of the children loses his bike or leaves it somewhere, and we find it, if it has a registration sticker, we can get the bike back to the individual that it belongs to.
I'm sure those kids will be very happy. And Patti, we understand that Simsbury is in the process of once again applying for a bike-friendly community. Now we know that in 2010 we were named a bronze-level bike-friendly community by the League of American Bicyclists. So why don't you tell us more about the application process?
It's a long application process. We can apply twice a year. We'll be applying in July of this year, and everyone in town has a piece of that application. A lot has gone on the last 2 years since we were recommended as recognized as a bronze level bike-friendly community. So we're hoping that this year, with all the work that's been done in education and engineering and by our police force, that we'll get recognized as a silver level bike-friendly community.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll hope to be hearing soon that Simsbury got silver status. So back to you, Officer Dunne. Are there any other policies or rules that protect cyclists out on the road that motorists should be aware of?
In regards to cyclists, cyclists must be aware of motorists. Motorists must be aware of cyclists. And if a motorist is passing, there's a 3-foot rule in which if a motorist passes a bicycle, they have to make sure that they give them at least 3 feet. Also, in regards to motorists with turns, if a bicyclist is going to make a right-hand turn after the motorist passes him, he has to make sure that he's aware that that bicyclist is going straight so that he has the right of way. Left-hand turn is the same thing. A motorist must make sure that they give the right of way to bicyclists that are oncoming.
Yep, and it's best to treat cyclists as another vehicle out on the road who have the same rights and some of the responsibilities as a vehicle. Why don't you share some of the responsibilities that cyclists have?
A cyclist, as you stated, is a vehicle. It's considered a vehicle. So a cyclist must follow the same rules of the road as the motorists. And most importantly, the cyclists have to make sure that they stay to the right, make sure they pay attention, stop for all traffic signs, traffic signals, and use proper signals so that if there's a motorist behind them, they know if they're going to turn, go straight, or stop.
Absolutely. So back to you, Patti. Why don't we talk about some of the involvement with the East Coast Greenway and the Farmington Valley Trails Council and how they helped Simsbury Free Bike in the first place and what you think you've done in return to help the groups like that.
Well, we work very closely with the Farmington Valley Trails Council. They've been very effective in expanding the trail and keeping it safe for all pedestrians, whether you're a biker or a pedestrian. We work with some of the areas where we have potential safety hazards to get those conditions cleaned up and rectified. They've also been a sponsor of Simsbury Free Bike and have helped us to get some other sponsors as well. But you know, a lot has happened in the last year or two with the town. I mean, if you look around at all of the new work that's been done on Iron Horse Boulevard, for example, we have 2 wonderful bike lanes. It's all been repaved. We have sharrows on the road now. A lot of people may wonder what those symbols are of bicycles on the road. They're called sharrows, which mean you have to share the road. Motorists have to share the road with the bicyclists. I think that our 14-mile loop that's in town now is a wonderful route for anyone who wants to sort of discover Simsbury. Just follow the sharrows around town. And also we have a curb cut at the end of Iron Horse Boulevard, which allows some of the faster cyclists to avoid that congested area in front of the Meadows and the Rotary Children's Playground. You can now take that curb cut at the north end of town and come down the bike lane and avoid all that congestion. So a lot of work has been done over the last couple of years to make it a safer, more well-connected network of bike trails.
Absolutely, and in addition to the East Coast Greenway and the Farmington Valley Trails Council, a lot of that has to go to the Simsbury Culture, Parks, and Recreation Department and the Simsbury Highway Patrol.
Absolutely, the
Highway Department, right. And we do owe them a lot of thanks for keeping the trails safe. And back in terms of safety, Officer Dunne, we know that there have been accidents in the past involving cyclists and motorists, and we want you to touch on that just to give people an idea of the safety aspect and what a cyclist should do in the event of an accident and what a motorist should do in the event of an accident.
First and foremost, if there's an accident, you should definitely call 911 or call the police department. It's good to have a police officer out there if there's an accident and we can help with getting medical out there or anything like that. But going back to safety, accidents usually with a bicycle are very serious. So it's important that cyclists and motorists both are aware of each other, and the more we educate, seeing that Simsbury has become such a bike-friendly community and there's so many more bicyclists in the town, motorists have to be aware of that. And with the cyclists, again, staying to the right, following the rules of the road, wearing reflective clothing, and making sure you use proper hand signals, that's going to reduce the seriousness of the accidents.
Absolutely, and it's important to know that for cyclists that cyclists ride with traffic, and they are treated as a vehicle, and it's important to ride with traffic because riding against traffic can create far more problems, and as Officer Dunne pointed out, an accident with a bike is rarely ever a fender bender. Most accidents with a bike and a car are very serious, and those are extremely important to avoid, and that's something that this program is highly focused on. So back to you, Patti. Why don't you talk a little bit about where the Simsbury Free Bike Shop is located and how people can go about donating, and some more of the other donations and grants that you've received.
Well, we are actually located behind the old Andy's supermarket. Andy was gracious enough to rent it to us for a couple of years for $1 a year, so he's a great community corporate citizen.
Absolutely.
And so we actually share that shop with Connecticut Adaptive Cycling, which has adaptive hand cycles and power-assisted trikes for people that have mobility issues. So we're located right across from the trail, so it's easy access. That's where we do all of our fleet maintenance, and we run all of our events out of that shop. So it's right in the center of town.
And you talked earlier about the 14-mile share road loop through Simsbury, and there are talks to expand that to Canton, right?
Yes, Canton and Simsbury have come to an agreement where they will be shadowing the section of trail between Canton, where Best Cleaners is, down to the center of Simsbury. So that will actually complete a 26-mile loop that is part of the Farmington River Trail and the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. So it's probably one of the only closed loops that we have in New England.
It's a great loop. I
it's
enjoy
one of my
it very
favorites.
much. Yep. And so back to you. We talked about Officer Dunne and the police department's efforts for education, especially for young children. Why don't you talk a little bit about what Simsbury does to educate children on bike safety and bike maintenance?
Well, when you apply for a bike-friendly community, one of the big topics, really important topic, is education of children and education of motorists. And the town of Simsbury has actually offered a number of bike safety programs, and they'll continue to do that. But what's really exciting for this year is the Simsbury schools will be offering a bike education program for 4th graders beginning in 2013. So getting the kids involved with some of the safety issues and some of the safety practices is very high on our list. We're excited about that.
So why don't you talk a little bit more about the expansion of Simsbury Free Bike, because we know that 2011 was the first year, and just in terms of numbers, how have you seen it grow?
Well, we actually have a number of other shops or storefronts that have asked to have Simsbury Free Bike, and we've been slowly expanding to make sure we could provide the kind of service we needed to provide, and also we were waiting for some additional grant money. Ensign Bickford has been very generous in offering us some grant money that allows us to expand to Granby, and we actually have some people further north and further south that are also looking to have bikes. So we're expanding in a way that allows us to do it in a way that we can provide the right kind of support. But we'd love to see it all along the trail, so anyone in any of the towns between Southwick and Yale will have some sort of a bike opportunity if they need it.
And and although it's called Simsbury Free Bike, like as you said before, it's expanding. So it's always it's always good to see that. And I understand from the town engineer that you mentioned Ensign Bickford, a local business, and they mentioned putting in a traffic counter on their property.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. One of the things that we like to keep track of is how many people are actually on the trail, how much new traffic is coming into town, and one of the concerns about traffic counters is, sometimes there's a vandalism issue. But Ensign Bickford, because we worked with them quite a bit on looking at that portion of the trail near their facility to keep it safe and whatnot, they've offered to actually host that traffic counter on their building that has surveillance. So we think it's a win-win.
Absolutely, very generous of them to have the traffic counter, and that helps in this, in the long run, with safety. So that's absolutely another good thing. So back to you, Officer Dunne. Do you have any last recommendations to people, and any recommendations for routes as a biker yourself?
As a biker myself, I enjoy the Greenway. I enjoy the ride from Granby, or even Southwick, all the way into Avon. Also around town, I like the Hoskins Loop out back down the Farmers Village. That's a nice road loop. But for Simsbury police officers, if you see us out on the trail, don't be afraid to stop and say hi. We're out there riding every day. There's somebody out there on the bike, and we're trying to bring back a new positive enforcement program. Have an ice cream if you have your helmet on properly, which will hopefully reinforce the issue of bike safety, and just follow the rules of the road and have fun out there, but be safe.
Yep, absolutely. And as you mentioned, the Simsbury Police Department is absolutely open for requests and any information about bicycling. And there are brochures located in Town Hall and in the Simsbury Police Department, and obviously bicycle retailers like the Bike Seller and Simsbury Free Bike. There's always information out there. It's just a matter of getting a hold of it. And Patti, how about you? Any favorite routes or last recommendations for the folks out there?
I think the beauty of Simsbury and our trail is that there's something for everybody out there. If you ride from Simsbury up to Southwick, it's flat. The scenery is breathtaking. If you head off the trail, once you get to North Simsbury, there's a lot of hills that will take your breath away. So there's something for everybody.
Right, take your breath away, literally. I'm
literally,
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
The rolling roads around Simsbury just provide absolutely great bicycling, and it's nice to have both the share of the road markings, so that the folks who want to venture off from the Greenway can do so, and in a way that's safe. Right. So basically, to sum up, we are more than happy to have bicycling be such a growing thing in Simsbury, and it's very important that the folks out there realize that there are going to be more bicyclists out there, and that safety precautions must be taken. So we thank you for joining us on Bike Simsbury. We hope you enjoyed the show and you learned something new. A special shout out to the Farmington Valley Trails Council, as I mentioned, the Culture Parks Recreation Department, the Highway Department, especially the Simsbury Police Department, and groups like Simsbury Free Bike that have been making Simsbury a great community to ride in. So we thank you both for your time, Officer Dunne and Patti Jacobus of Simsbury Free Bike, and we hope that you bike safely, Simsbury. So thank you very much.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.